So I'm going to read Linda's testimony for her. As much as she loves public speaking, I just really wanted a turn. So I'm going to read her. Yeah, she just for the t-shirt, she said. This is Linda's testimony. My first memories about Jesus were from about 5 years old. We lived right across from a church, and every Sunday my brothers and I would go to church. My memories are mostly about learning songs, memorizing verses, and how I loved the Christmas pageant every year. When I was 10 years old, my mom's dad died, and I remember my mom crying. That's when I first remember turning against God. How could he allow my mom to be so hurt? I remember crying and telling God how I hated him for doing this to my mother. From then on, my childhood became a nightmare. My dad was an alcoholic and abused my mom, my siblings, and me regularly. In my early teens, I turned to booze and parties. I had no interest in God at all. I left home at 18, got married, and had a beautiful daughter. Unfortunately, my husband was an addict and was very abusive. Therefore, the cycle of that abuse from my childhood continued. I never forgot that I had told God that I hated him, and I thought this must be God punishing me. My husband passed away at the young age of 27. By now, depression, insecurity, and self-destruction had set in again. I tried to attend church, but that was short-lived. I drank and partied every weekend. I realized there was a big void in my life, but I was looking in all the wrong places to fill that void. All these years, thoughts of God would enter my mind, which just reminded me that I had told him that I hated him, and I was sure that I was cursed. Years later, I remarried, had 2 more children. Life was good. I thought the void in my life was full. My kids and I went to church, Sunday school, Bible study. I met some friends, but the void in my life crept back in. My husband and I were expecting another child, and life took another downturn as once again found myself in another abusive relationship. My husband convinced me that I was stupid, unlovable, worthless, and it was then that I stopped going to church altogether. I was so ashamed of what was happening in my home. I felt alone. I was taught to hide things, to stuff it down deeper and deeper. I made my bed, now I have to lie in it. And I was very stressed and was walking on eggshells every minute. That same November, I lost my little girl who was stillborn. My world was shattered. How could I go on? I went through the motions of being a mother to my 3 children, but life didn't get better. It got worse and worse. After receiving good advice to leave, my children and I got out of that bad situation. I met with a pastor and even tried to attend church. Throughout the years, I tried to read my Bible and attend church and cried out to God to please help us. I was still working, but I felt very alone, continuing to stuff all my feelings, never opening up to anyone. My kids grew up, and I remember waking up and thinking about my young adult son, turning on my light, randomly opening up the Bible, and various verses spoke to me. Peace came over me. It was around that time that I asked Jesus to come into my heart. I found a church I started to attend, and eventually I remarried. Again, our world was shattered. My daughter had twin girls and lost one 24 hours later. I prayed and prayed for both of those babies. The second little girl has had lots of complications. I found out several months later that she wasn't expected to live, but she did, and that was a miracle. And in that, I did not lose my connection to God this time. In 2013, I started to attend SPAC, and I finally felt like the void was being filled. Over the next few years, I experienced enormous loss when my son was killed. There were more losses of loved family members, and I was severely depressed, traumatized, had PTSD, and didn't want to live. But through it all, through that entire time, Pastor Linda showed tremendous support. Over several years, she sent many cards with words of support. Those words and her prayers were a lifeline. Also, my loving friends and my brother Larry were there for me. So many conversations and texts. And Pastor Matt showed me so much sympathy when he read my story. And Pastor Wade, what can I say? You're amazing. She actually wrote that. I'm not just saying that. That's actually, you did write that, right? Okay. Just had to clear that up. Linda says, I've chosen to get baptized today because I truly want to have a fresh beginning. Jesus is the only one that can fill the void we feel, and I choose to trust him with my whole life. This is not my first baptism, but it will be my last. I have found my home. Thanks, Linda. And you got the t-shirt to prove it.